I'm here today with Jasmine Jasmine Jupiter, and we are going to be playing a game while also talking about being trans and being game design students. Super excited.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so introduce yourself, and I'll get started on the game.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jasmine, and this is a game that I made with a couple of classmates of mine in the fall semester of last year. It's called Koshka's Coffee. I made it with Michelle Ma and Cloud Tien. I was the narrative designer for this game. Michelle was the artist and programmer for the game, and Cloud was the sound designer and composer for all the music.
Amazing, yeah. So I've played this game before, so I definitely know that it's an adorable game, really well done, beautiful art, beautiful mechanics, and it's even available now on itch.io if you want to go ahead and put the link in there, moderators. But yeah, I it was showcased at the USC Games Expo, and it was a hit. Everyone loved it. But I am also here because we are both here together because we are both part of the LGBTQ plus community. Specifically, we're both trans. I'm a trans guy and she is a trans woman, and it is a very interesting experience being. I honestly think being trans in the game design community. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting is a good word, I suppose. It's yeah, I think that honestly, sort of my background, like liking video games, like kind of helped come to terms with like my identity as far as like I found myself like whenever I would play a game, like I would always that had like a character creator, I would like always sort of make a girl character, and I was like, after a while, I started like interrogating that, like why am I more comfortable like playing girl characters, and then I sort of like realized that I might be a girl.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting how many game designers in our department are trans. May it be non-binary or binary, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely agree. Character creation is a huge aspect that changed a lot of how I felt about myself and how like other, and then of course how others reflected themselves into a virtual world. What's a game that you have definitely felt like really changed how you basically what was a game that made you kind of realize, oh shit, I'm trans?
Uh, probably Final Fantasy 14.
Ooh.
I like to call that game a gay catgirl simulator, because basically it's very different from sort of other MMO communities. Like I've played like MMOs like before in my life. I played like World of Warcraft and stuff like that. But the community that plays Final Fantasy 14 is sort of, in my experience, sort of like more diverse in like what they are interested in doing in an MMO. So you've got the people who are like more into doing the traditional like dungeons and like doing PvP or something like that. But then there's like a lot of people who are really interested in the social aspect of the game,
Definitely.
and that sort of aspect of the game and that player base really sort of made it just like a different experience for me. And I was a gay cat girl in that game, and yeah.
Amazing, yeah. So since you are a grad student at the University of Southern California, which is super amazing, what are your thoughts about one being in the game department right now as a trans person, but also going out there into the world as who you are, and especially making sure people, see you and all
Yeah, it's been like an interesting journey, especially because I began my transition at sort of the beginning of the fall semester of last year. So for some people, it was a bit of a journey to kind of recognize me as trans.
For sure.
And even still on some projects that I work on, like people will occasionally misgender me and things like that, especially if they sort of like knew me before. And so that's been sort of a journey. But beyond that, it's also been, I found, at least in our department, the interactive media department, a very welcoming and very safe environment that I just have been able to thrive in. I really appreciated the environment that the interactive media department like has fostered, as far as like just how many LGBT people are like in it, and how like okay people are like with sort of my identity. The real world, on the other hand, the real world, like, well, and the other thing is like there's like a gender neutral bathroom like in the building where our department is.
I love it.
Yeah, it's my favorite bathroom on campus. It's really nice. But the real world, on the other hand, is a whole nother story. And it's actually, I mean, it's kind of scary right now, especially as like a Black trans woman, with everything that's been going on, with sort of the police and that sort of thing. So I am grateful for the, I see Steven in the being like the SCA bathrooms are really nice. They are. A bunch of really famous filmmakers and video game designers have paid for them, so they better be nice. But yeah, the real world is a whole nother ballpark and a whole nother game, and I'm just really grateful that I have sort of been able to build a support system and like find environments where like I am safe, because yeah.
I definitely agree that the game design department was a huge aspect of me figuring out how to come out, because I honestly didn't come out until just recently, last year, because I didn't know much about it. But actually going into the game design department really enlightened me about it all. Because I realized, I was like, oh, gender doesn't matter. Like, I can do whatever the hell I want, and that's great. And of course, like, gender identity is always important. It's gender stereotypes that we always gotta say, haha, fuck you. But definitely, I agree that the department is the best place to figure out yourself, which is fantastic. But then I can agree that the industry can be a bit intimidating. But with how many people in our department are, you know, part of the gender expansive community, and also part of just the LGBTQ plus community, I think that maybe we will change the industry for the better.
Oh, for sure. And as far as, I mean, even like the industry as it stands like right now, like, you know, prior to all of these students graduating and going out into it and changing it, like, even as it exists right now, this industry, more than any other industry, like, I've seen, like, has way more, like, openly gay, openly trans people, than like any other environment I've ever been in. Like, I came from the film industry before I started like doing video game design, and that was a very, very different environment. And it was not like it wasn't really, I didn't really feel like comfortable, like sort of even really talking about like, well, I'm like, I may be like some kind of LGBT, like, let alone being like I'm a trans woman. Like, yeah, so that's like a whole, I think that gaming is a really great field to be an LGBT person, even if it's not like, you know, perfect right now. It's a lot better than a lot of other environments I've been in a lot of other industries.
I definitely agree. I mean, I wasn't really a part of any specific community before I started game design. I thought I wanted to be an animator, but I didn't really get into the animation community beforehand. But I definitely think, like, you and I and many other queer and trans and whatever part of the community definitely will be the big change. I think our generation in general, I think is going to be the big change. If you, but going on, well, okay, let's go back to the game. And I've been playing this game so far for the past like few minutes, and it's fantastic. I love this game.
Thank you.
Yeah, which actually, there is an itch.io link, once again, if anyone is wanting to play this game themselves. But what was a big game that, like, inspired this game? Because oftentimes we get inspiration, or any version of entertainment, but we always get inspiration from forms of entertainment. What was the biggest thing for you?
Yeah, so the biggest inspiration for the actual gameplay portion of this game, so this is like a visual novel, but the gameplay portions that you're sort of seeing with the coffee making, that was largely inspired by a Flash game that I used to play a lot called SpongeBob Flipper Flop, and in that game you had to make Krabby Patties using ingredients in the correct order, and so that was like the big inspiration for the actual like coffee making mechanics.
Amazing, yeah. Definitely a really, really cute, simple aspect that honestly, like, sometimes the simplest of things is super great.
Yeah, we've received a lot of feedback and on like comments on itch.io about how the coffee making is actually like really relaxing for people, and we've also gotten that feedback in playtests as well. Like, people really like the coffee. They think that it's sort of accessible, but also very very relaxing. It's a soothing game.
I agree. We are going to have to wrap things up shortly, so we can move on to the next section. But is there any last like little bits you'd like to say about you and games and being here on GGP?
Yeah, I would say, well, first off, I'd like to say thank you for having me and thank you for showing our game. But as far as like something that I'd have to say for the audience, never be afraid. Even if like in your current situation, there's no one who supports you, there are people out there that you can find. Like my family doesn't really support me, and that was like a sort of big obstacle, but I've been able to find found family and friends and other support at school and stuff. So never be afraid, and there's always people out there who will accept you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, this community, for example, is a great family to start with. But yeah, definitely don't be afraid to branch out and find other family members who will definitely support you. I agree. We're going to be wrapping up very shortly, but thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I hope you check out this amazing game. Definitely also go check out Jasmine on Twitter, and also check out her webpage, because she needs lots of support and appreciation for being an amazing game designer. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here, and we can move on to the next session. Thank you again, everyone, for being a part of the GGP Twitch Pride event, and thank you, Jasmine, for taking your time to, speak about your experiences and everything. It's super awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.